Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I am ELD and this is Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering, and here we have something new for you. This is a Pauper matchup, UrzaTron versus Elves, the premier control deck in this fairly new paper format versus one of the best aggro/combo decks in Elves. UrzaTron is going to look, for those unfamiliar, to assemble a pretty wacky combination of cards to lock Elves out of the game. Elves, though, is going to play a lot like Legacy Elves, so if you are familiar with that, you're going to see a lot of the same deck building strategies. We've got Mana Acceleration. Instead of Gaia's Cradle, we have Priest of Titania, but a lot of the other cards are the same. We've got Llanowar Elves, Fyndhorn Elves, Elvish Mystic are all available. So those aren't even replacing Deathrite anymore, as Deathrite has exited Legacy. We've got Nettle Sentinel, Birchlore Ranger, Quirion Ranger, all of the cards that can accelerate. But here is a card exclusive to Pauper. I believe it's Solana Huntmaster, something along those lines. The Huntmaster will generate a 1/1 elf every time that a elf spell is played. On the other side here, UrzaTron, just a single piece of UrzaTron down with an Expedition map. And here is the card advantage engine of Elves. They do not have Glimpse of Nature, but they have Lead the Stampede. This is going to act very similar to Goblin Ringleader. It's going to reveal the top 5 cards, though, and they're going to get any Elves in your hand. And we see we've got 3 Elves there. Well-Wisher, one of them, a casual all-star, does seem to be good enough for Pauper. Pushes you way out of reach of the burn deck, and there's another life gain consideration card there in the Soul Warden reprint, Essence Warden, back from Planar Chaos. They gifted a bunch of creatures into different parts of the color pie, and it looks like Condescend finally finding a target on that Sylvan Ranger. Sylvan Ranger would have found another basic out of the deck, and things are looking quite bad here. Elves really gone wide. Now, UrzaTron does not have a sweeper. It will literally need to start fogging or preventing damage. And there's an Evoked Muldrifter, and that's likely going to do it. I believe we've got near lethal damage here. Okay, so not lethal. Now this build is running Distant Melody instead of a bunch of Vines of Vastwood. So Distant Melody is a card that lets you draw for each creature of the type that you name. So if you have 20 elves and you play it, you draw 20 cards. You actually have to sometime name Warrior or a different creature type just because you've drawn so many cards. But if the deck does have enough cards left in the deck, you can pretty much play out your entire hand thanks to Nettle Sentinel and Birchlore Ranger. Of course, versus a lot of the format, you're actually not going to want to do that. Ooh, and here we go with just 5 life left. Stonehorn Dignitary coming down, and we see the beginning part of the combo. Stonehorn makes your opponent skip their next attack step, and this deck is going to look to get essentially infinite recursion of that Stonehorn Dignitary through Ghostly Flicker, and the Ghostly Flicker will get recurred through Mnemonic Wall. So we'll see what can happen here. Well-Wisher. 2 more tokens. This is a key moment here. Keeping the attacks away. Moment's Peace, a very crucial card in this and so many other Pauper decks. Skipping 2 attack phases really does take a huge chunk out of so many decks' plans, And it does look like the vast majority of these decks are aggro. There's a Ghostly Flicker. The format is ruled by a variety of aggressive decks. There's no force of will to keep these crazy engines in check. We see here Elves is going to just go unbelievably wide. They are resorting to dice to keep track of the sheer volume of Elves here. Matt's life total going to become completely irrelevant shortly. Gonna have to move into actually decking him. Gets down Queer and Rangers, he's going to be able to do a lot of untapping. Lead the Stampede. There are no creatures left in Matt's deck that are going to be relevant here. All of these creatures really just going to gain a ton of life. Now he is going to need some creatures on board in order to finish the job. There is Viridian Longbow in this deck. Just saw that off of Lead the Stampede, and here he goes. This is going to be a gigantic Distant Melody. So this lock with UrzaTron, once Mnemonic Wall comes down, that Stonehorde Dignitary will each time get returned. So Ghostly Flicker will remove the Mnemonic Wall and the Stonehorde Dignitary. They both come back. Ghostly Flicker resolves. The triggers are placed on the stack. Mnemonic Wall will return the Ghostly Flicker. Stonehorn will do its thing. And then each additional Ghostly Flicker that you want to cast can get a variety of other triggers. So as long as you target Mnemonic Wall as part of the Ghostly Flicker's 2 targets, and there's the Prohibit in hand, which cannot be cast. So Viridian Longbow comes down and ends that game with UrzaTron seemingly stabilized. Testing this matchup, Prohibit extremely important. Once you get your lock, that Viridian Longbow is the only card main deck, and then depending on how you build your sideboard as well, it could be your only way to break through the defenses of this UrzaTron deck. Once it gets up the shields, there's really no way you're doing anything through combat damage. And an Expedition map and a piece of UrzaTron to start out. 2 pieces of UrzaTron, and it looks like we're going to have it assembled on turn 3, which is where you want to be. One of the more interesting matchups. A lot of decks have piles of creature removal, which can make it difficult for Elves to get rolling. UrzaTron is essentially going to let both decks kind of goldfish here. Like the whole hand is coming down. One more of it mana available, assuming no more 1-drops in his hand. Prismatic. That is going to let us filter colorless mana, extremely important in the deck. Draws a card and lets you turn all of that abundance of colorless mana into the single colors you need, either white for Stonehorn, blue for Flicker, even green for Moment's Peace. So Elves as we saw, does have Distant Melody. That's going to allow for a massive amount of cards to be drawn. Some people do build the deck with Vines of Vastwood in its place. It does serve as a finisher. 2 green mana is not hard to come by, and it also can protect your most important elves in particular matchups. So when you're looking at something like Burn, you can keep your Well-Wisher around potentially. When you're talking about needing to go extremely wide with an explosive start, your Priest of Titania can be saved. Time will tell what the better options are. Gaining a life there off of one of the Fate Reforged dual lands. The refuges from Zendikar essentially reprinted at common. There's the Huntmaster. And Elves start to be able to go wide here. I guess we are already going pretty wide. With this UrzaTron deck, though, there is a little bit of an element of lethal damage is the only damage that matters. You know, only push through so much damage when you're dealing with things like constant miss and skipping your attack steps. So if you can't get them to 0, those earlier attacks really might not be worthwhile. It's all about setting the kind of lowest number of attacks that'll be necessary because they are not going to start using those fogs until they are preventing lethal damage. You're not just going to fog to preserve your life total. See here. Things looking actually good for both decks. It's anybody's game here. If UrzaTron can get a way of stopping the attack steps and start recurring it, then the lock is going to be pretty difficult to break. Like a fog perhaps coming up. It did look like Stonehorn Dignitary was in hand. And there's a fog effect. Those are actual fogs. I just did a wholesale order and sold about 50 Moments pieces. I did not think I would ever need that card. But as it turns out, I'm going to need quite a few copies for these Pauper decks I'm building. So I'll have to trade back into those. Prohibit hits that Viridian Longbow. And this is looking very grim now for Elves. So we see very similar to Game 1 in terms of how it played out. Elves able to go very wide. However, UrzaTron just having that excess mana, having assembled UrzaTron so early, and able to keep Prohibit up for that Viridian Longbow. So Matt actually drawing the key card. And really just need Mnemonic Wall here, and it's going to be all over. And there it is, Mnemonic Wall. That is the infinite lock. Matt, without any more ways of breaking through the lock, as he already found that Viridian Longbow, and it was countered. So going into Game 3 here of this first Pauper match ever to be covered by the channel. And it actually comes at a somewhat bittersweet time. Scholars, the game store that has been such a wonderful host for this channel and for tournaments that I've attended for well over a decade, nearly 2 decades, will be closing at the end of September, early October. So stay tuned to the channel to see where we will be filming from next. I am actually not sure what the fate of the channel will be. Work with another store. I may find ways to film with legacy players in New England. I am not really sure. It is definitely a time of change, though, so keep an eye on the channel. See what the next step is. But here, UrzaTron being assembled early. which is a very good sign. On the other side, Matt, with that first turn Lanor effect, very important for the deck to come out to a quick start. And he also has, looks like Priest of Titania. That cannot be Priest of Titania on 2 mana. I'm not sure how he got that. It looks like a Priest of Titania and a Nettle Sentinel. Happens here. Couple of filters already in place. The deck also runs a filter land. I believe there's a couple of different versions of it, both at common, and that just essentially takes a land drop and can filter to any color. Not actually sure how those cards came down. May have just missed a land drop in there. I guess missed 2 land. So let's see here. Will the defenses go up, or will these elves just overrun? Timberwatch Elf, a very real threat here. That guy is going to tap for a ton of damage. The Timberwatch gives +X, where X is the number of elves you control. There's no shortage of elves here. Lead the Stampede, continuing to pile on. Condescend, going to counter that. Now there's no Quirion Ranger here. See what damage comes through. Down to 1. that land gaining a point, very relevant here. And there's the Stonehorn Dignitary trying to stabilize from 1 mana, from 1 life here. That next attack step being skipped. And keep the ball going. Got Prohibit in hand. That is good news, potentially. Gaining a life. Looks like a couple of counters may be incoming here if there's no way of recurring or fogging. Muldrifter. Oh no, he missed an attack step. But it's not going to matter. Wow, a gift, and it did not pay off. So Elves taking it down as UrzaTron, unable to re-establish the lock, was able to stop a single attack step, but not enough to keep that going. And Elves showing why it is one of the best decks in the format. That's all for this one. If you enjoyed the video, please help grow the channel by subscribing. You'll be notified when we upload new videos like Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic with commentary, or Untapped, our raw tournament gameplay. Thanks for watching.